Hello, and welcome to the second part of our introductory training, Control Flow. In the previous episode, you learned about the basics of UiPath, variables, and how actions are contained inside flowcharts or sequences. If you don't yet have a firm understanding of these basic concepts, make sure you watch the previous training again, because today we'll dive deeper into the mechanics of UiPath, specifically Control Flow. Control flow is the process of defining the rules and automatic decisions your workflow will take through the use of if-else decisions, loops, and so on. So, without much further ado, let's start with probably the most important piece of computer programming, the if-else decision. You've seen it briefly mentioned in the previous training, but this time we're going to try it out. Actually, we're going to do the same example twice, because the if-else decision is one of the very few that has two virtually identical activities, one for the flowchart mode and one for the sequence mode. They may look different, but they work exactly the same by taking one of the two different actions based on a specific condition. That may sound a bit more complicated than it actually is. So let's see a simple example. We'll make a workflow that checks if a certain year is a leap year or not. It does that by testing if the specific year is a multiple of 4. So, starting with a blank project, we'll first drag in a flowchart, like we learned in the previous training. We'll name this Master Flowchart. It will help us keep things organized. Then, we'll add another flowchart inside it, connect it to the Start node, and double-click to edit. And it's a good idea to name this one too. That's it for the setting up part. Now to the real automation. First, we need to create a new variable to hold our specific year. For that, go to the Variables pane and create a new variable called year. Since it will hold a number, we'll change the type from string to integer and also give it a value of 2013 for testing. Now, because we are in a flowchart, we'll drag in the flow decision action and not the if action. How do we test if a number is a multiple of 4? There are a few options, but the easiest is the modulus operator. It works by giving us the remainder of a division operation. In case you forgot that piece of math, the remainder is the number left over after dividing one integer by another. So, to see if a number is a multiple of 4, we can look at the remainder. If it's 0, the number is a multiple of 4, which means it's a leap year. Coming back to our flowchart, first connect the decision node to the start node. And in the condition field, we'll put year, the variable we created earlier. Mod 4 equals 0, and that's it. Now add a new message box action by dragging it from the left pane and connect it to the decision node. This being the situation when the year is a multiple of 4, we'll just say this is a leap year and drag another message box. But this time don't drop it yet. Hover over the decision box and drop it on this bluish arrow. It means it will automatically connect here. For this one, we'll display this one isn't. So, let's review. The program starts from the start node and goes to the decision box. Here, if the variable year that we defined earlier is a multiple of 4, it will display this message box. And if not, this other box. When we run, we see the year 2013 is not a leap year, and that 2016 is. Since we don't want to change this variable by hand every time, we'll just add an input dialog by dragging it on this wire before the decision. This inserts the action between the two. This is what an empty input dialog does. Not much, just gives you an empty field where we can type. We can customize its properties here, and for starters, we'll change the label to "Please enter year" in quotations. All text strings are in quotations. What the input field does is it takes the value of what a user types and outputs it to a variable. Since we already have a variable defined, we'll just put its name here, or just the first few letters, because the rest of the name auto-completes. Now, although at the very start of this program, the value in the year variable was 2016, after the input dialog, its new value will be whatever we type in the empty field. So, if we put in 2015, we'll see that this one isn't a leap year. And this one is. Great. And finally, let's give these some meaningful names and correct this spelling mistake. So that's how the decision node, message box, and input dialog work. Now let's quickly recreate this exact behavior in a sequence so that you can see what that's like. So just go to the master flow chart by clicking here, drag in a new sequence, and give it an appropriate name. We'll do almost the same steps. First, add the input dialog and create the year variable by right-clicking in the output field. It's a bit faster. And change its type to integer. Unlike before, this time drag in an if block and drop it in the sequence. For the condition, we'll put the same thing as before. Year mod 4 equals 0. Also, add a couple of message boxes for the true and false situations and type the same messages as before. As you can see, the sequence if is very similar to the flowchart decision node. The notable difference is that the if action is more suitable for small pieces of automation because there's only so much that you can fit in the tiny then and else boxes. Although technically you could drop in a container like a flowchart or sequence and have a whole process in there. But the decision node is more suitable for this kind of higher level decisions, business choices and so on. Don't worry, you'll start to get a feel for the subtle difference between the two once you start automating more complex projects. But for that, you'll also need loops.